Okay, this has to be a science experiment at this point, right? Like when they put astronauts through endurance tests to see how much they can withstand. Take Chris Paul away from James Harden. Take Eric Gordon away. Now take Clint Capela away and see if it phases him. Pretty soon, they're just going to take the actual basketball away, and yet somehow Harden will still be that game's leading scorer. Last night, things were nearly that threadbare. The Rockets took the court with only 9 healthy bodies, including a G League call-up, and no real replacement for Capela, who they just found out will miss 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb injury. Harden, meanwhile, was, in Coach Mike D'Antoni's words, dog-tired after playing 43 minutes the night before. And yet, despite that everyone in the state of Texas knew he'd be the one having to carry the load, despite the Grizzlies triple-teaming him many times, Harden delivered. In the first half alone, he racked up 36 points, while the rest of the Rockets collectively chipped in 18. By the time the game was over, Harden would have 57 points, while Memphis's entire starting 5 combined for 53. In case you're keeping track, 57 points is a season high for Harden, which is saying something in the season he's having. Or to put it another way, in the past 48 hours, Steph Curry and Anthony Davis have dropped 48 and 46, respectively. And Harden still managed to increase his lead over both of them for this year's scoring title. Remember in 2003 when one Mr. T-Mac and Kobe were putting up video game numbers, one-upping each other night after night?
Jelly bean.
During that season, Kobe put together a streak of 16 straight games where he scored 30 points or more. Tracy over here had a streak of 14 games like that. Harden has passed both of those marks. He's now scored at least 30 in 17 games and counting. So how much longer can he go on like this? Harden is so superhuman at creating his own shot, it certainly feels like he can keep firing away no matter how many of his teammates go down. Still, you have to wonder. Harden is averaging more than 37 minutes a game, the most in the entire NBA, and they're hard minutes. All those fouls he collects by creating contact, it's a lot of contact night after night. All the dribbling he does that puts stress on defenses, that puts stress on Harden too. And we've seen it in the past. When Harden really pushes himself in the regular season, the bill comes due in the postseason. He is better at the beginning of playoff series than he is at the end of them, which is not the direction you want for that sort of thing. Of course, Harden knows this, D'Antoni knows this, GM Daryl Morey knows this. But until Morey can get some help via trade or until some of Houston's injured players come back, this is the situation they're stuck in. The science experiment continues. And at least so far, Harden is enduring it all. Tracy, you are one of the few humans on the planet who has ever had a run even close to this. It is you, Kobe, Harden, Wilt, and Elgin Baylor. That is it, ever. So you are the person to ask, is Harden carrying a load like this sustainable, not just through the season, but to the playoffs?
Well, since you're at the playoffs, no, I don't think this is sustainable. I think with Harden, we've seen him in the regular season where he can put up crazy numbers and go on stretches like this. He is one of those guys that just loves to hoop. He loves to play the game of basketball. So that's why he could come up and put up these type of numbers. It's crazy to see him doing what he's doing. I mean, if you guys don't understand what it takes to come out and shoot the ball 30 times,
tell me.
This is regular season. He could do this regular season.
But are you tired after these games? When you went through this streak, you had one of these streaks. Were you tired?
No, because he's doing a great job of pacing himself. Like on the defensive end, these guys, they're not running through screens. All they're doing is switching. They're switching everything. Right. So he's really, I mean, his energy is being put out on the offensive end. Defensively, these guys are just switching everything. In the playoffs, that's when the intensity heightens and you have to be locked in, dialed in on every possession, and it wears you down. You can't do this in the playoffs.
I mean, I think he can sustain this for himself as an individual, and I think that's where the game has turned today, is more individual players. You're seeing guys do things from an individual standpoint. You take Russell Westbrook. Last 2 years, averaging a triple-double. James Harden dominating the ball on the offensive end, bringing the ball up the court, shooting the ball, making the pass for the guy to shoot. So, yes, he can sustain this because of the way that he plays in Mike D'Antoni's system.
Are you trying to convince me that there is more ISO today than in your day?
Oh, for
Absolutely.
sure, for sure. I mean,
There's no comparison.
I hear people say all the time,
There's
like,
no
you can
comparison.
say that, and you played with Michael Jordan. Well, Michael never brought the ball up the court in my era,
Right.
and if he did, it was more we were sharing it. James Harden brings the ball up every time down court, and he makes the play that leads to the shot. So he's getting something out of every possession, whether it is
No,
a
his
shot
usage
or
is crazy.
not.
Yeah.
His usage is higher than anybody I've ever seen.
Second highest ever compared to Russell Westbrook when he had his
Like,
MVP season.
It's incredible. I mean, he brings the ball up. He initiates the offense. He does everything for these guys. And
I think it's time for us to rewrite the record books in terms of the new NBA.
Yeah,
because it's a different game now.
Right.
every great player that's come through this league and put up numbers
He
in the
will
past,
eventually be
these
phased
guys
out.
are going to surpass them because of the way the game has changed defensively, the rules, their usage rate, shooting all these threes. It's an entirely different game, Rachel.
Well, we had different pacing and pace of game in sort of the old era in the 60s, and then a very different pace and style of game.
Let,
in the
let
80s
me
and
help
90s,
people out
and then
there
now.
put what James is doing and what MJ did in perspective. James Harden is averaging probably about 13 threes that he shoots a night. MJ, on his best year of shooting threes, averaged only 3.
No, it's
Right?
It's
3
crazy.
threes.
Right? I mean,
And they're
even
both
Steph
averaging
isn't even
30
close to him in
no,
how many threes
no.
he actually takes. His accuracy, of course, different.